Hey friends, why is it that nobody is talking about trusting your intuition after you've been through trauma? I don't get it. Anyone who knows anything about trauma knows that one of the major things that it disrupts is our sense of safety and security. And contrary to common belief, these are not things that we just bounce back from or that we just get over. It's literally a shattering, just like happens if a crystal goblet was dropped. It breaks into a million pieces and will never be the same as it was before. Since intuition is tied to our sense of safety, it stands to reason that our ability to lean in or trust those things also becomes compromised. In its place, however, is left paralyzing fear that can last for days, weeks, months, and yes, even years after the trauma has passed. It might show up as fear of making the wrong decision, fear of not being good enough, fear of being seen, or fear of it not being safe for you to have an opinion. The gripping hold that fear has is like an invisible web that wraps around our core being, and it affects our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. It can become a pervasive force that distorts our perceptions and blocks our ability to trust ourselves and other people. By no means is fear, or the inability to get past it, a personal failing. It doesn't mean you just need to buck up and get with the program. Rather, it's a natural consequence of profound disruptions that were caused by traumatic experiences. However, learning to untangle the grip of fear and trust our own intuition are hallmarks of healing, and they're essential for reclaiming our own sense of self. So, how do we make that happen? The first thing we have to do is learn how to distinguish between fear and intuition. Listening to your own intuition is like an inner compass. It's a subtle guide that often speaks in whispers rather than shouts. On the other hand, fear often shouts very loudly and presents itself as a protective mechanism. It does so by screaming warnings, disrupting our thoughts, and paralyzing us with distractions, procrastination, and confusion. In order to tell the difference between fear and intuition, pay attention to the emotional tone of your experience. Fear usually carries a sense of panic, while intuition feels more grounded and centered. You may also know that fear and intuition show up in different parts of our body. Fear usually shows up in the upper chest area, the shoulders, and the area near the heart and the head. Intuition, which is often called the gut feeling for a reason, often shows up in our lower body, around the gut, and the pelvis and the hips. You're also going to want to pay attention to the source of your emotions. Fear often stems from past wounds, and for this reason, it will often look and often feel like a child who's throwing a temper tantrum in order to get attention or to get what they want. Intuition, however, comes from a deeper and more authentic part of yourself. It's more of a settled sense of inner knowing or wisdom. Even though fear often acts like a general who is in charge of everything, it's actually intuition that's part of your internal natural defense system. By design, the body will send out danger signals or warning sensations even before we're consciously aware that there's a problem. So if you feel it, don't ignore it, because if something feels off, it probably is. On the other hand, intuition also has a wonderful way of helping us know when things are right and good, even if they're scary or don't make logical sense. We are currently in the middle of trying to sell our house and move to a city we don't know very well. We're relying very heavily on intuition right now to help us figure out where the next right place for us will be. That intuition has put us in some very unexpected places. It's led us away from places we thought we liked or that we wanted to be. And it's led us to take steps that have brought us some really good surprises and put some interesting moves into our path. Now we're just waiting for someone else's intuition to tell them that our current house is the right place for them to live. So how do we untangle that mess that the distortions leave behind? It's true. Trauma has a way of shaking the foundations of our soul, and it can leave us hesitant and apprehensive about choices that once seemed so easy and straightforward. If we're not careful, that can lead us to believing that we're crazy. We're not. It's just a natural and sometimes annoying trauma response. We start to untangle the mess, though, by taking action. A great place to start is by acknowledging fear without judgment. Notice it's there and understand that it's okay to feel anxious or worried about the decisions that you're making, because trauma does leave us with a heightened sense of sensitivity to potential threats, and it makes even small choices feel like we're walking through a minefield, even if we're really not. So give yourself permission to embrace that vulnerability and realize that it's all just part of the healing process and it won't last forever. A great way to get back into the game is to start intentionally making low stakes decisions to rebuild your confidence and practice allowing your voice to be heard. For me, decision fatigue was and still is a very real thing. When we were at the height of all the trauma with our kids, I had to constantly be on my game. Every single minute of every single day required me to make big decisions regarding safety, the well-being of my family, and how to get the needed help for our children. It was exhausting. So when it came to making small decisions, like should I do the dishes now or in the morning, or what should we have for dinner, there just wasn't enough left of me to care. So I either just didn't make those decisions or I passed them off to others. And it's taken a long time to break out of that. Alternatively, I've also been in situations where every decision about me and my life and my family in those certain circles was made for me by others. There was no room for my thoughts, my needs, my voice, or my preferences. I also learned that attempting to share them caused more problems, contention, and backlash than just keeping quiet and seething in quiet resentment. This is actually pretty common among people who have been in controlling or toxic relationships where there's been a lot of gaslighting or domination or verbal and emotional abuse. When it comes to making bigger decisions or knowing where to start in getting things done, developing a decision-making framework can be very helpful and even empowering. So don't be afraid to plan things out and take those bigger tasks, those bigger choices, those bigger steps that need to be done and break them down into smaller and more manageable steps that allow you to focus on one aspect at a time. As you can see, when fear is left unaddressed and allowed to rule our life, it can become a barrier to growth and to self-discovery and to genuine connection with others. It can also negatively shape our decisions and limit our possibilities, and it can also perpetuate a cycle of avoidance and procrastination. Untangling that fear is not about dismissing its validity, because let's be honest, trauma gives us a lot of reason to be afraid. However, by acknowledging the impact of fear and learning to recognize this is fear and this is something else, and we start to work through it with resilience and compassion, we really can release ourselves from that awful grip and start a new journey towards hope and empowerment and a renewed sense of possibility. If you've made it this far, thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more, check out that video right there. Also check out the links in my bio and also in the description of this video below for free healing resources and tools. I truly do believe that it is possible to heal the things that have devastated our lives. I do believe that trauma does not have to win and it does not have to define us. The healing process follows a specific pattern, and when it's done right, it's a lot easier than many people might think, and it's something that we can do together. So stay tuned for more about that in future videos, but for now, start taking those steps to separate fear from intuition and start practicing making those little decisions. And hey, I'll put in another shameless plug here. Let's make that first decision subscribing to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.